"Won't your wife disturb us?" Liz asks in a coy voice. She is speaking to the Amir Khan, one of the chief advisors to the Caliph of Yalarum. She has gone to Partha by the sea to escape the heat, the Amir replies. Her maids will tattletale, Liz warns. They have gone too, says the Amir, grinning. We have the palace to ourselves. Liz crosses over to a small table near the enormous bed in the Amir's private chambers. The room is festooned with silks, satins, and embroidered cloths, swagged and draped everywhere. Large sculptures of animals clutter every corner, and there are 8 corners in this octagonal room. The Amir's wife has revolting taste, thinks Liz. Sure, just look at her husband. She could have only married this unsightly man, with hair springing from the end of his nose, for the wealth. The Amir throws himself onto the bed with the vigour of a youth. I've had my alchemist make me a potion for just such an evening. I can feel it working already. We have to begin with some wine and some chit-chat, says Liz. I want you to tell me how pretty I am. The small table has a beautifully engraved silver pitcher and 2 matching goblets. There's a bowl of exotic fruits that Liz has recently discovered she loves. She pours each of them a drink of pale red wine. She takes a sip. It's delicious. The Amir has propped himself up on the voluminous pillows. The vanity of youth, he laughs. I will oblige. He takes a huge swig of his wine. You are curved like the sand dunes after the zephyr winds. Your eyes are as clear and deep as an oasis to a parched man. Your skin is like milk flavoured with peaches. You have bigger humps than a dromedary. Your hair is like... He runs out of poetic metaphors and falls into a drugged sleep. His head slumps into the pillow and loses its form as he slowly drools onto the silk. Liz reaches over and pulls open one of his eyelids. He is out of it, and would be until dawn. She goes to work quickly. She picks the lock of a large bureau that stands against a wall. She opens its doors and discovers a world of little drawers. She begins ransacking them. Some contain worthless mementos, some have letters. She begins to fret that the Amir's wife has taken all of her jewellery with her, but soon she strikes gold. A lot of it. Large, gaudy jewels with gemstones, the largest she's ever seen. She stuffs them into her small satchel. This will set her up for life. She crosses over to one of the shuttered windows and opens it. The night air is warm, but soon it will turn bitterly cold. Liz wakes up. She isn't in a palace in Yalarum. She's lying on a cold, lumpy bedroll in a forest, on her way to Guido's fort. Why am I here? She cries into herself. Why? Hello everybody and welcome back, and welcome to Horror on the Hill, a brand new adventure. I will be kind of playing this blind. Well, I've obviously done the basic homework, but I will be exploring this as we go. It is quite similar to the keep on the Borderlands. It has got a central keep, or in this case a fort, and it also has nearby areas to explore with various caves. And it has a massive dungeon crawl at the end. In fact, the dungeon crawl is probably about 75% of the whole module, with the landscape being really just quite small incidental things you come across. Right. Okay. Well, let's get cracking. That was cracking, not kraken, as in sea monster. I'm going to move this fort from here to about here. The keep on the Borderlands I placed here. Canonically, there's a place called Castellan Keep here, but that is not a hard and fast rule. The reason I'm placing the keep here is because it is called Guido's Fort, and it's on the banks of the River Shrill. There is no River Shrill, but this is called Gusto's River, and you could maybe plausibly say that Gusto's and Guido's are both variations of the same word. Maybe it's a local phrase, maybe it's slang. So this is Gusto's River, and this is Guido's Fort, and it is on our way to Specularum, and we're here to fulfill a commission from the castellan of the keep. and he has sent a couple of couriers with us to keep an eye on progress and report back. And by coincidence, or maybe not coincidence, those couriers are the same two guys we rescued from the bugbear cave who were chained up on the wall. Those guys we gave spears to, and they managed to kill more people than, well, our own party. So those are the two couriers who've come with us, and we arrive at Guido's fort. Unlike Keep Up on the Borderlands, where there was at least 6 pages or more of the keep, including a map, Guido's fort gets this much. We're told there's the Lion's Den Inn. It's got benches, a bar, fireplace, common room, blah blah. It's got an inn. We're also told that the quarters are so dirty that the characters who sleep here have a 75% chance of becoming flea infested during the night! Fleas won't affect the characters' play, they're just a temporary nuisance. So this is really all the atmosphere that we're given about Guido's fort. It seems to be a pretty rundown, dirty place. The only character we have is somebody called the Old Timer, who is here to offer us rumours in exchange for booze. And the last character we're told of is a fisherman who will equip us with a boat to get across the river to the hill. There are 2 ways we can play this. We can either hire the fisherman and his services with his boat to take us there and he goes back again, or we can actually buy the boat. We can't just rent the boat, on the grounds that the odds are we will die and the fisherman will lose his boat for very little rent. Right. So, well, let us arrive at Guido's fort. So I've had to draw up Guido's fort. Okay, this is my drawing of Guido's fort. It's work in progress. I sort of realised I'd better get cracking. There's no people, there's no animals, there's no trees, and the village looks a bit, well, deserted. And compared to the keep on the Borderlands, this place is really, well, Liz just takes one look at it and says, what a dump. The inn, as we will discover, is infested with fleas. This rather sad looking shack is the stables. They have one general store, and that's run by, I'm going to say, a husband and wife team. He also has a bit of a smithy next door. The store, we are told in the book, charges prices at 150% over the usual price simply because of the remote, difficult location. Here is a temple with holes in the roof. And this massive garrison here, well, that's a throwback to when this keep was somewhere special. You might look at this and think, well, that can house at least 60 soldiers. Why don't they sort out this hobgoblin problem on the hill? Well, the truth is, this garrison is mostly empty. The top floor is about to fall through. Nobody can go up there in case, well, the floor collapses. There are actually very few men here. We have to make it into the inn. Well, first we go to the stable. We feel sorry for our pony because there's not too much in the way of fresh hay or oats, and the food, even for the pony, doesn't look that great. But hey ho. At least it's a shelter. And we go into the inn, and it is not the busy, lively place that we left behind. You know, the music, if any, is a bit more of a dirge. And the locals look a bit, well, tired and suspicious. We tell the innkeeper we are here on the castellan's business. Does he have any rooms? And that gives us a certain credibility. So yes, we don't have private rooms, but there is at least one large communal room. There's 5 of us, plus our 2 escorts. So yes, we'll be sleeping communally in really what is uncomfortable cots. And then we tell the innkeeper we're here to investigate the goings-on of the hill. And the innkeeper just gives us a shudder, because they live under the hill, and it is a really oppressive, dark, gloomy place. But they point us to a crusty old timer in the corner, and if we buy this guy beers, he will tell us some rumours, And sure enough, he's got a big grizzly beard and a hat where the front of the brim's jammed upward and there's an arrow through his hat. Let's roll for some rumours at the price of a beer per rumour. We can't keep this up all night, so we will probably get 4 rumours out of him before we decide we want to go to bed. And it says here, he will give us a rumour for the price of a cold beer. Well, the beer here isn't cold. There's no refrigeration or ice. If anything, the beer is actually quite off. So yeah, we're going to sip ours. We're going to see if we can make one beer last the evening while he guzzles about 4 of them. So let's roll for some rumours. 1d8. And we get a 7 and an 8. There's a huge orc army is entrenched on the hill, waiting for orders to begin a massive assault on Guido's fort. Well, that ties in with what we've been told, so we believe that, even though it's false. Okay, well, we spend that pint of beer discussing what size the orc army may be, where they're headquartered. There's no other information. Number 8 is a bubbling lake of lava lies below the hill. The lake is the source of the steam columns that often rise into the air from the many vents on the slope's summits. Yep, and that again seems plausible because this grim, sullen looking hill has steam coming out of it, which adds to its sort of prehistoric primordial feel. So it is plausible that there is lava underneath. Even though that's a false rumour, it's not that inaccurate. There is a sort of geothermal venting going on here. Right. We're nearly through our 1 beer and we're looking at each other saying, do we want to order another? Most people are just clutching their stomachs and saying, no, I'd rather not. But there's still enough time before bed to get more information out of this old timer. And we throw a 4 and a 5. Man-eating ghouls prowl the hill for food. Well, there's ghouls and ghosts and goblins everywhere, so that's plausible, and it is indeed true. And rumour 5, there's a haunted graveyard on the hill. Well, there's haunted graveyards everywhere, so yep, we're just going to consign ourselves to the fact that that one is also true. And indeed it is. So it looks like this old-timer has chosen his ghost stories as the last ones for the evening, as you do when night settles in and everybody goes to bed. So he gives a macabre laugh and says, sleep easy, and we then have to go to bed and wake up the next morning. Right, we wake up the next day in Guido's fort, and there's a 75% chance that people will get fleas. Okay, so let's roll for that. Let's do orange dice, Liz, green dice, Sylvia. And Sylvia doesn't get fleas, Liz does. Then we'll do the orange dice, Malin, green dice, Donard. And both of them wake up flea-ridden. Malin nearly didn't. And then we have Carrick, who also gets fleas. So the only one who escapes is Sylvia. So we all start scratching and we see those sort of raised lumps on our skin. Can this get any worse? Well, can it get any worse? Let's look at just basically the beginning of this adventure. It says this module is for a group of 5 to 10 players between characters level 1, 2 or 3. Well, we've got 5 and most of us are level 3 or even 4. So yes, I think we ought to be able to do this without retainers. Would there ever be a retainer in Guido's fort? Yes, there would, but rare. Now, the last time in Keep on the Borderlands, the retainers had been nominated by subscribers to this channel, so it was already predetermined they would be there and they would agree to join. There is a sort of retainer reaction role here, which we never used. But there doesn't seem to be anybody today in the inn anyway. So we go out the gate and we go down to the river to meet the old fisherman. He has told us that he will rent us the boat and himself. He will row us across the river and leave us there. And we say, well, how do we get back? And he tells us, well, light a fire, and if I can see the fire, then I'll come and collect you. And Donard says, and what if you can't see the fire? Then he just shrugs. And so we think of the alternative. Do you have a spare boat we could buy? And yes, he does. In fact, he's very glad of a lot of gold up front. How much gold? Charges us 1d4 plus 4 times 10. That would be a 4, right? So that's 80 gold pieces to buy this little boat. And of course, Carrick looks at it and says, I thought we were going to go onto a hill, not onto a river. I'm not too pleased about this. We all get into the boat. This is something that Donard seems at home with. And Malin and Liz, well, they live near a river and have been on boats before. Sylvia, yes, she's more of a woodland elf, but copes with the boat. But oh my god, trying to get Carrick into the boat is like trying to give a cat a bath. Well, I think the first equivalent would be somebody who's never stepped onto or off an escalator before. So eventually we do get Carrick onto the boat and we row across the river. It is described as being a mile wide. That is phenomenally wide. Indeed, will we be coming back to Guido's fort often? Who can tell? So across the river from Guido's fort is this small beach here. It's a sort of beach of stone and shale, and it has a waterfall here and a river. It actually doesn't look too bad. Now let's just look at this map for a minute. What we have, the sort of mottled area is wood, and as you can see, nearly the whole thing is woodland. There are these contours here, given a height. I'm going to assume this is a gradual slope rather than a sharp uphill thing. There are a few cliffs, mostly here. Whether or not they will come into play, we can see. But the most important thing for us are these trails, which are clearly marked. This is not a path, this is a one single file trail that would have been established by animals passing through over a few years. Even though it is a trail, as we pass through it, we will be constantly brushing against branches and ferns and bracken. And if it's a wet day, well, then we'll get wet. I don't know if any of you have tried to walk through forest without a trail. It is almost impassable. It's like getting caught in a bramble bush. And that is kind of described. It takes us 10 minutes to go through each square. Each square here is 300 feet. So already we're moving faster than we were in the Keep on the Borderlands. Should we decide to go off trail, our walking speed quarters, and it's 40 minutes for 300 feet, one square. So that shows you how dense the forest is compared to the trails. So, well, there's one obvious trail ahead of us. But before we do that, let's do my favourite bit of the day. The weather. We're slightly further south, Keep on the Borderlands, but we're still in hilly area. Right, it's uncertain. Uncertain, but yes, sunny. So it's one of those days where the sun does shine, but there's also enough white, fluffy clouds that will pass over it. So there's nothing to do but go up this single trail. Now the other thing we're told is we have to roll for wandering monsters every 3 turns. That's every 3 squares, and it's unrelenting. It's not like you do this once and stop thereafter. Okay, so that's 1, 3, 6 turns to get to here. Nope. Oh, well, here we are. We get to this junction here, and we're already in a wandering monster. What are we finding? And we have our wandering monster table 1 to 6 during the daytime. And it's killer bees. We have not seen killer bees before. Right. Okay, it says giant bee here. Is a giant bee the same as a killer bee? I think they must mean a giant bee, because in their own new monster section there isn't a killer bee. Foot-long giant bees with very nasty tempers. They often attack on sight and will attack anyone within 30 foot of their underground hive. If a giant bee hits, the bee dies. Saving throw versus poison or die. These are absolutely incredibly dangerous things. The stinger will continue to work its way into the victim, inflicting 1 point of damage per round unless a round is spent pulling it out. And there's some info on a queen bee. These guys have AC 7, half hit dice monsters. They have 2 HP each, and there's 1 to 3 of them. There's 2 of them. Right, let's roll for surprise. Oh, and they surprise us. Right, we're told they're nasty and vicious. Okay, 1 goes for Donard, and 1 goes for Carrick. The one on Donard misses. The one on Carrick misses. Our turn. Right, let's do Liz. That plus her 4, yep, she hits 1 and kills it. And let's do Sylvia. And she shoots the other one. Well, shooting flying targets. Well, let's just say they weren't buzzing around too much. They were clearly on Donard and Carrick. But to be able to shoot them and not hit your friends was quite good going. So that's 2 dead killer bees. This place isn't looking great. Not with this trail goes left and right, or north and south. Let us roll 1 to 3 north, 4 to 6 south, and everybody, apart from Liz, wants to go southward. She takes the back and just grumbles, "Oh my god, I bet you I'm right, this is going to be the worst." So we go southward for another half an hour. And yep, we're hit with... What are we hit with this time? An ogre. We've seen enough ogres in our life. Let's roll for surprise. There is no surprise. So the ogre sees us on the trail. What? Who has initiative? It gets initiative. Now there's 5 of us, and ogres aren't stupid. And it is uncertain, so we're not going to approach it. There's some distance between us. But we take our weapons out. And it... Right, negotiate. So what we're going to do is we're going to move off the trail into the bushes to sort of make sure it has a clear path. And to sort of indicate that we're willing to let it go its own way. And it leaves, and it just goes grunts, and it lumbers along the path, passing us. Of course, as it passes, it continually stares at us until we see its back disappear. So we're here at yet another junction. And do we go southward or west? And 1 to 3 was southward and 4 to 6 was west. I keep forgetting that I should mention these things first. We go south for a few feet, 300 feet, and we come to a river that needs to be forded. And we can see to the west a lake. And there's a small bit of beach or clearing here. What is in that clearing? This is a glade of magical berries. This pleasant meadow borders a crystal clear pond of cool fresh water. Many coloured pebbles can be seen on the bottom, with hundreds of harmless gold and silver fish swim through the waters. At the border between the glade and the forest, 3 unusual bushes grow. They resemble raspberry bushes, but the berries on the plants are much larger than ordinary raspberries. So this is one of the many pleasant places we can stay. And what time is it? We got up early. We got to here at about 9 o'clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 o'clock. Fight. 11. It's 1 o'clock. We're going to walk along the edge of this crystal clear lake here. Stop by these unusual raspberry bushes, which look really tempting. Does it say how many berries are on the bushes? 12 berries are on each bush. They act as a 1d4 healing potion, so 36 berries altogether. Who's curious enough to try one? Anybody who rolls 4 or 5 or 6 tries a berry, and that is Liz, Donard and Carrick. Sylvia and Malin don't, and I think these are really nice. Nice way to finish your lunch. So that's 3 berries gone. They do feel their digestion has been helped. If they have all their hit points, they're like a digestive. But we're going to leave those for the time being and just decide later, will we go back here or will we continue on? There is another trail that goes westward, but this is a nice place to stop. And in fact, as we will explore this, there may be even more nice places to stop in this grim, sullen looking dank hill. So, until next time, see you.